When we think of heart disease, our minds usually jump to one thing: clogged arteries, right? Sort of a plumbing problem. But what happens when it's not the pipes, but the pump itself that starts to fail? Today, we're going to dive into a group of hidden diseases that attack the very muscle of the heart. We're talking about the cardiomyopathies.
So, let's just forget the plumbing for a minute. Let's focus on the engine. This isn't about some external blockage. This is about a fundamental, intrinsic problem within the heart muscle. It's a disease from the inside out.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a solid definition of what cardiomyopathy even is. Then, we'll walk through the three main ways this disease shows up: the stretched, the thick, and the stiff heart. And you're going to want to stick around, because telling these apart is absolutely critical.
Okay, let's get one thing crystal clear right from the get-go. When we say cardiomyopathy, we are not talking about a heart attack. We're zeroing in on a completely different kind of failure.
And here is the absolute key. Cardiomyopathy, it literally just means heart muscle disease. The problem originates in the muscle itself. So for our purposes today, we are setting aside all the other stuff. Problems from high blood pressure, faulty valves, or clogged arteries. We're looking purely at cases where the muscle is the root of the problem.
Now, to really get a handle on this, doctors classify these diseases into three main patterns. It's all based on what they physically do to the heart. Think of this as our visual roadmap for understanding what can go wrong with this amazing muscle.
And here they are, our three main culprits. You can basically think of them as the too big, the too thick, and the too stiff heart. Each one of these represents a totally unique way the heart can fail, so let's break them down one by one.
First up, we've got the most common one of the bunch, and I mean by a long shot: dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM for short.
And when I say common, I mean it's absolutely dominant. A staggering 90% of all cardiomyopathies fall into this single category. So this is the big one.
So what's happening here? Well, imagine an overstretched balloon. That is the perfect analogy for a dilated heart. The chambers enlarge, they get all floppy, and they lose the power to squeeze blood out to the body. This critical failure to contract, that's what doctors call systolic dysfunction.
Now, you might be wondering, what causes this? Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. Genetics play a massive role, sometimes up to half of all cases. But it can also be triggered by things like alcohol, viral infections that inflame the heart, the incredible stress of pregnancy, or even a weird overload of iron in the body.
And here's what it looks like. You can just see how all four chambers have ballooned out. It looks heavy, tired, and weak, which is exactly what it is. It's totally lost that tight, powerful, muscular shape it's supposed to have. Now let's zoom in. Under the microscope, you can see the damage at a cellular level. The muscle cells themselves look stretched out and just messy. And see all that blue stuff? That's scar tissue, or fibrosis, basically gumming up the works. It can't contract, so it just adds to the overall weakness.
All right, next up we have a complete 180. We're going from a heart that's too weak to one that is bizarrely too strong for its own good. This is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM.
Wow, the visual contrast here really tells the whole story, doesn't it? On the left, you have that baggy, dilated heart. And on the right, pure overgrown muscle. Just look at how thick those walls are. They've gotten so massive that the chamber inside has been squeezed down to a tiny little slit.
So here's the crucial point. The problem is the exact opposite of DCM. This heart can contract like crazy. In fact, it's hypercontractile. The issue is that it's so thick and stiff that it can't relax properly to let blood in. This failure to fill is called diastolic dysfunction. And this has devastating consequences. Because the heart can't fill properly, it can't pump enough blood when the body really needs it, like during intense exercise. That can trigger a fatal arrhythmia. It's why HCM is so tragically known as a cause of sudden death in young, seemingly healthy athletes.
And this image just brilliantly illustrates the chaos underneath it all. Instead of neat, parallel muscle fibers all working together, you get, this. It's a complete mess. The cells are huge and they're arranged in this total jumble. This myofiber disarray is the hallmark of HCM, and it's what makes the heart so electrically unstable.
Okay, our final pattern is the rarest of the three, restrictive cardiomyopathy. And here, the problem isn't about weakness or thickness, it's about pure, uncompromising stiffness.
Think of the heart muscle turning into something like hard, brittle plastic. It just can't expand to accept blood. So just like in HCM, the main problem is diastolic dysfunction, a failure to fill.
The key difference is the heart isn't necessarily thick, it's just incredibly non-compliant.
So what would cause this kind of stiffness? Well, the classic example is something called amyloidosis, where these abnormal proteins literally infiltrate and build up in the heart muscle. But it can also be caused by scarring from radiation therapy or other inflammatory diseases. Here's a look at that amyloidosis under the microscope. See all that pink gunk kind of smeared everywhere in between the muscle cells? That's the amyloid protein. It's essentially encasing the heart cells in concrete, stopping them from moving the way they should.
And pathologists have this really cool trick to confirm it. It's beautiful, actually. They use a special stain called Congo red. When you look at it with a polarized light filter, those amyloid deposits light up with this unmistakable, telltale apple green glow. It's a stunning visual, and it completely seals the diagnosis.
So, there you have it. Dilated, hypertrophic, and restrictive. 3 very different ways the same muscle can fail. Let's do a quick recap and really nail down why making these distinctions is so incredibly important.
This table right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. You've got dilated, the overstretched balloon, which is a weak contraction problem. Then hypertrophic, the muscle-bound heart, which is an impaired relaxation problem. And finally, restrictive, the stiff and brittle heart, which is an impaired filling problem. 3 totally different mechanisms and 3 totally different physical forms.
So this really should change how we think about heart health, right? It proves that it's just not enough to say the heart muscle is failing. We have to ask, how is it failing? Is it too weak, too thick, or too stiff? Because the answer to that one question changes absolutely everything, from how you diagnose it, to how you treat it, and ultimately to a person's entire future.